Let's go Browns! The Cleveland Browns are at a critical crossroads heading into the 2025 NFL Draft, and the spotlight is firmly on their quarterback situation. With the second overall pick in hand, they are perfectly positioned to select one of the best quarterbacks in the draft. But here's the big question. Is there really a quarterback in this class that deserves to be picked this high? We'll break down that and more, so be sure to hit that like button and let us know in the comments below. Who do you want to see on the Browns this season? Let's go! The 2025 quarterback class hasn't generated the same buzz as in years past, which has left some NFL insiders skeptical. Still, Browns GM Andrew Berry remains optimistic. Speaking at a press conference on Tuesday, Berry shared his thoughts on the draft and the potential to find a future franchise quarterback. "I think there are talented passers in this draft, and I would have a hard time believing that there isn't at least one guy who will be a quality starter, if not more," Berry said, according to Cleveland.com. "A big part of it with those guys is really the environment and surrounding them with the right support that allows us to maximize their potential. But yeah, I think there are talented passers in this class." For all the quarterback talk, there's growing speculation that the Browns could shift gears and target Penn State defensive end Abdul Carter. Adding Carter to the defensive line could create a formidable pass-rushing duo and significantly bolster the Browns' defense. Of course, the quarterback prospects can't be ignored entirely. Colorado's Shedeur Sanders and Miami's Cam Ward have caught the attention of scouts, with Ward particularly standing out in several mock drafts. Adding complexity to the Browns' draft strategy is their current situation with Deshaun Watson. Watson's hefty contract ties him to Cleveland for a few more seasons, but his recent Achilles tear has cast doubt on his availability and effectiveness for the 2025 season. That uncertainty could prompt the Browns to draft Ward now, locking in a potential successor before their quarterback situation becomes even more precarious. So here's where it gets interesting. Should the Browns use the number 2 pick to take their quarterback of the future, or would a defensive player like Abdul Carter be the better move? Either way, this draft could shape the future of the franchise. Now, I want to hear from you, Browns Nation. What do you think is the right move? Should the team stick with Watson and shore up the defense, or is it time to pick his successor? The buzz surrounding the Cleveland Browns and the 2025 NFL Draft is heating up, and there's one name that keeps popping up: Arizona State All-American running back Cam Skattebo. This guy is skipping the 2025 Senior Bowl to focus on the NFL scouting combine, and depending on his performance, he could quickly rise up the recruiting charts. If he doesn't impress, some team could land him a bargain. Let me tell you why Skattebo is on everyone's radar. Last season, he put up jaw-dropping numbers: 1,711 rushing yards at 5.8 yards per carry, 605 receiving yards at an impressive 13.4 yards per catch, and 25 total touchdowns. He led Arizona State to an 11-3 record and a Big 12 championship. That's not just good, it's elite. Now, Skattebo's recruiting projections are all over the place. He's ranked as a third-round pick and as low as an undrafted free agent. ESPN's draft guru Mel Kiper Jr. recently ranked him as the 8th best running back in this year's class, behind several players Skattebo has outperformed in 2024. Kiper's top-ranked backs include Boise State's Ashton Jeanty and North Carolina's Amarian Hampton, but Skattebo holds his own with his unique skill set. This is where things get really interesting for Browns fans. Pro Football Network's latest 7-round mock draft has Cleveland selecting Skattebo in the 3rd round with the number 94 pick. And let's be honest, the Browns desperately need a standout running back. Last season, they averaged just 94.6 yards per game, which ranked 29th in the NFL. That's tough. Fan favorite Nick Chubb is set to become a free agent in March and is recovering from a broken foot. That's a big question mark for the Browns. Enter Skattebo, who could be the perfect addition to Cleveland's backfield. Pro Football Network describes him as a powerful runner with a knack for breaking tackles and fighting for every yard. He's not a speedster, but he's explosive in tight spaces and has the pass-catching skills to be a 3-down running back. Think James Conner or David Montgomery, guys who get the job done with grit and determination. The Browns have some big decisions to make this offseason, and drafting Skattebo could be a game-changer. His versatility and relentless style of play would bring a much-needed spark to the offense. So what do you think, Browns Nation? Is Cam Skattebo the answer to Cleveland's running game woes, or should the team look elsewhere in the draft? Leave your thoughts in the comments. There's been some buzz circulating about the Browns' plans for their quarterback room this offseason. While the team has been heavily linked to signing a rookie quarterback, it appears they're also exploring the free agency market for a proven veteran who can fill the void and provide some stability in the short term. One name that's gaining traction? Former Raiders quarterback Derek Carr. Bill Sparks of TWSN believes Carr could be an excellent fit for the Browns. Here's what Sparks had to say. Would Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski be willing to pay the high cost from a salary cap perspective as well as give up draft capital for a quarterback who will be 34 next season? It remains to be seen, but this would be an excellent bridge quarterback option while they select a young signal caller in the NFL draft to groom Carr over the next few seasons, especially since he has experience with our new quarterbacks coach, Sparks said. Now, let's break it down. Carr is an experienced quarterback with experience running a play-action heavy offense, something Kevin Stefanski loves to implement. But there's a catch. Unless the New Orleans Saints release him, which could happen, the Browns would have to give up valuable draft capital to bring him in. Is Carr worth the investment? That's up for debate, especially when you consider that other veteran quarterbacks could be available. Kirk Cousins, for example, already has familiarity with Stefanski's system from his time with the Minnesota Vikings. And then there's the potential availability of Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, and even Mac Jones. Oh, and let's not forget the possibility of Aaron Rodgers leaving the New York Jets. Carr undoubtedly brings value and could be a big upgrade over Deshaun Watson based on recent performances. But unless he's available as a free agent on a team-friendly deal, it's hard to see the Browns making that move. What do you think, Browns fans? Should the team go with Derek Carr, or is there another veteran quarterback that makes more sense for us? Let me know what you think in the comments. So, even though the Browns aren't competing in Super Bowl 59, we're still making waves. Here's the scoop. Jameis Winston, our current quarterback, has just landed an unexpected gig as a digital correspondent for Fox Sports during the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Talk about a twist, right? This is also kind of a homecoming for Winston, who spent several years with the New Orleans Saints from 2020 to 2023. It seems fitting for him to be back in NOLA, even if it's in front of the camera instead of under center. If you've been following the Browns this season, you probably saw this coming. When Deshaun Watson's season ended back in October, Winston quickly became one of the most talked-about players on the roster. Whether it was a fiery pregame interview or his unexpected love for making snow angels, Winston knew how to keep things interesting. Now, let's talk performance. Sure, it wasn't always pretty, but Winston kept Browns fans engaged in what was otherwise a pretty rough season. He completed 61.1% of his passes for 2,121 yards, threw 13 touchdowns against 12 interceptions, and posted a passer rating of 80.6 in 12 appearances, including 7 starts. With his free agency coming up in March, it's unclear if Winston will be back in Cleveland next season. At 31 years old, he's sure to attract attention as one of the best available backup QBs. But for now, Browns fans can cheer him on as he brings his signature charisma to the Super Bowl coverage. You know he's going to make it entertaining. What do you think about Winston's new role at the Super Bowl? Do you want to see him back in Cleveland next season, or do you think it's time for the Browns to move on? Let me know in the comments. And before you go, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for all your Browns news. Go Browns!